So as a week ago goes, I think we had a tough first half. Defensively, we gave up the two big runs to that kid Harrington. He's an outstanding back. I can see why he's an All-American. From an offensive perspective, we weren't consistent moving the ball. We only completed 4 passes. And special teams, while they played well all game, we missed 2 field goals. I think one of the things that our coaches do a very good job of, a lot of times coaches, I think, try to correct too many things at halftime. That's a mistake because you can't get them all done. But while the guys go in and they're kind of getting ready, taking their water, going to the bathroom, whatever they need to do, the coaches really meet and they talk about what are the 1 or 2 things we have to get fixed. They first try to understand exactly why there was a problem, and once they understand that, they're able to get it fixed. And then they go ahead and they spend time at their respective positions. Then I call them up literally, and it takes about a minute or so. There was a theme at halftime, as well as the theme for my pregame talk, as well as the prayer service that Nick Jones had the night before. We had the kind of the same theme, and that was based on our plane trip out there. So if you want some color on that, I'll be glad to give it to you. We came out in the second half, and I think all cylinders worked. Our offense was strong. We didn't turn the ball over. We did a much better job in the passing game. Running game was good. Defense was outstanding in the second half. The 2 interceptions by Scarce and Sampson, especially the run back by Sampson, I think were really, really great plays. And the special teams literally were outstanding. So you combine all that together, you have a 35-0 half. So we felt good about the comeback there. That was last week. All right, in terms of getting ready for Florida A&M, we looked at a lot of it. We looked at all the film, frankly, from a year ago. They have a new coach, Alex Wood, who came a year ago. And prior to that, he was head coach at JMU. Actually, Mickey Matthews is the guy that succeeded Alex as the head coach at JMU. And he had a winning record there, and he had, I think, a winning record at Buffalo. So he brings a winning record as a head coach to Florida A&M, but he's got a turnaround program, and I think they're pretty excited about what they might be able to get done this year. Their opening game was against Miami. It's hard for us to learn a lot from that game, primarily because the offensive and defensive line of Miami were superior to the offensive and defensive line, respectively, at Florida A&M. And that had an awful lot to do with the control of the game. So when we look at what they do, looking at their offense, they run a spread offense similar to what we do. They shift in motion probably about 1 out of every 4 times. They will go to a hurry-up offense. They like to be able to do that. They don't necessarily do that all the time, but they like to be able to do that. Their skilled guys are very good. Their skilled guys are very good. They had this kid, number 15, the wide receiver. He was very good a year ago. He's a number 1 receiver this year. He's also their punt returner and kickoff return guy. He's an excellent athlete. The running backs are good athletes. The quarterback's a good athlete. They have very good skilled guys. So we've got to be disciplined in terms of our ability to be able to handle them. That's their offense. From a defensive perspective, they really base out of a 4, kind of the overlook that pretty much everybody in college football runs. They run man out of what looks to be a 3 deep, or it could be a 3 deep zone, or it could be man with a man-to-man coverage with a free safety in the middle, or they run cover 2. They mix those up pretty well. When they come with pressure, they usually man up on the respective backs or receivers. From a special team perspective, I already mentioned this kid, 15. He's very, very talented. They are, they're solid special teams. I think they're certainly solid from a special teams perspective. So with regard to what we have to do offensively, we've got to continue to improve the quarterback. We've got to continue to be able to not ask our guys to do things that they can't do. We've got to continue to make sure we're protecting the ball. We've got to have some balance between our run and passing game. From a defensive perspective, we'll continue to do, frankly, what we have been doing. I think our defense is going to be a defense to be reckoned with this year. This year. We have to be aggressive in terms of the way we play. I think what you saw from us last Saturday night, you saw a lot of guys getting to the ball. We had a lot of gang tackling, a lot of things going on there. And again, other than missing those 2 field goals, our special teams were outstanding. I think our special teams were outstanding a year ago, so they've kind of began where they left off a year ago. So that would be my thought process with regard to last week's game, this week's game, what we have to do, etc. The only thing up in the air is if you want to find out more about my pregame talks last week. Okay, that's it. What else can I help you with? Well, I talked about the adjustments. The coaches are making those. So we give the coaches a 1-minute heads up. And then after that 1 minute, the guys come up to me. That's 1 minute. I talk to them for about 1 minute, and then we go back onto the field. The key at halftime is making the right adjustments, but not having too many of them because you can't execute all that. So you got to spend time on finding out why you were having a mistake. Anybody say, well, they were beating us with a run. That's irrelevant. Why were they beating us with the run? What do we have to do to be able to fix that? That's where the majority of the time is spent. I'm going to tell you the story anyway because I like the story. Okay, so Friday we have to leave to go to Texas, to go to Beaumont. And remember, we were kind of in between a tropical storm and a hurricane. So the airlines called us and said they really suggested we move our flight up a couple hours. We did that. We adjust easily to those types of things. And but we get on a plane. I mean, it's a torrential downpour. We get up in the air. Now, I have been flying around, especially in the business world, a lot. I've had to fly all over the world a lot for business reasons. I've never been on a plane that's had more turbulence than what this plane did. So we had a good first 30 minutes of the flight. I mean, this plane is bouncing all over the place. And here's basically what I was doing. Because I was praying, I was holding on for dear life. Now the problem was I didn't have the armrest, so I was holding on to one armrest and I was holding on to George's leg with the other hand. While I was doing that, I was praying. Now we probably had 15 kids on the plane that had never flown before, so this was kind of a tough experience. Friday night before the game, we always have a prayer service that Nick Jones runs. And it's optional, but usually about 2/3 of the team shows up for that. And he talked a little bit about, he was trying to find the right thing to talk about, and then it hit him, and he started talking about turbulence and kind of what happened on the plane. And you can't worry about things you can't control. But how much training have the pilots actually had? They've been doing this type of thing in simulators like forever. And you've got to trust that your pilots know what they're doing, and they're going to make sure that you're well taken care of. That kind of carried over to what Nick wanted to talk about with regard to life. That carried over to my talk the next day, where I referenced the turbulence piece, and I said, this is our first game. We've got some inexperience, and we have some experience. Bottom line, we're going to have turbulence in the game. So how are we going to handle it? Are we going to panic, or are we going to understand what's going on and make sure we handle it, fix it, control it, et cetera? At halftime, here's basically what I said. We talked pregame that there's going to be turbulence in the game. We had some turbulence. We're down by 11 points. We know what we need to do to be able to get this fixed. Let's go out, give it 100%. Let's get it fixed. Let's go. That's what I said. Incredibly powerful, emotional, and passionate. Like probably that 30-second talk probably will make it as one of the finest speeches in the history of college football. It was about 30 seconds. That's basically what I said. I know it's a long-winded answer, but it was more fun for me to tell it that way. I saw it typical, what you'd expect a little bit in terms of inexperience, but I saw pretty good poise from him. So he didn't throw the ball away under pressure. He didn't get sacked. He moved around really well. On a lot of the zone read stuff, he read to keep the ball, and he was able to keep it and go. Now, as outstanding as Alex was for us as a quarterback the last 3 years, remember last year he had a bad ankle, so he wasn't able to run. In our system, the quarterback's got to be able to run, and if the quarterback can, that makes it far more effective. So he was able to do that, and that gave us an element that, frankly, we haven't had for a year or so. I think he felt a little bit more comfortable in the second half, and he was, I think, 6 for 10 in the second half. And again, we didn't turn the ball over. We had pretty good, and I think he had good control of what was going on. And I think that part is very, very important. I think we certainly emphasized our running game. The running game was outstanding. Our offensive line wound up doing a great job. We give players of the week each week, and our 2 offensive players of the week this week were our 2 tackles. You had Chase Tidwell, who's going to come up in a little while, and Vogans LaRue. Okay, so number one, as far as the thrash goes, I think any time, one of your guys coming, he's a highly touted athlete, quarterback coming out of Georgia, and he comes, and he's looking forward, and we're looking forward to him having a great college career. But like the second day of his first year, he has a problem with his shoulder. He has to have surgery. He misses the entire thing. So he works hard in the off season to make sure he's got a rehab, kind of get ready for that. He wasn't even allowed to take snaps at spring ball. And then he comes in, and like at the end of the first week or second week of preseason, he hurts his shoulder again. So I couldn't feel worse, than I do for the kid. 'Cause that's a tough thing for the kid, and certainly we were expecting more, but I feel more for the kid. With regards to the freshman quarterback, with regards to Avery versus Chance, remember Chance, again, he's coming off shoulder surgery and has not played a snap since his senior year of high school. So he's relatively inexperienced too. It's not like Chance has already learned the system and he was up and going ready to go. So now he knew the system certainly better than Avery. But I think what Avery brings to the table, he's a very good athlete. I think he's got pretty good poise. I think he's doing a pretty good job of making his reads. We're not going to ask Avery to do things that he can't do. So Dave Patton on our offensive staff have a package, for Avery that we know he can execute. Now, he's got to get comfortable doing that. So therefore, I don't have a problem with that. But the reality is, I don't worry about stuff I can't control. I'm really very good at that. So Chance is not going to be able to play. That's it. I feel for Chance, and we'll do what we can to help out Chance. But with regard to our team, we got to focus on what we have, and I think we're doing a very good job of handling that. I think, especially in the beginning of the season, I think some coaches, they rush a kid coming back, which I think is a bad mistake. So sometimes a kid really is borderline, and maybe he can go, maybe he can't. I'd rather that kid not go, especially early in the season. So if he goes and he's not quite ready and gets hurt again, he's going to miss the next 10 games or 4 or 5 games. So I'd rather pay the price earlier on, and he misses whoever the player might be, and he misses what he needs to miss. So when he comes back, he's healthy and really strong and ready to go. We've got a couple guys in that boat. Now, that might be a little different if it's the last game of the season or you're playing a playoff game. I might feel a little differently about that. So for us, Shane will be ready. I think Shane's, we missed not having Shane in there. Shane's a good football player. And when he's ready to go, and he'll be ready to go, that's when he'll go. The fact that it's one successive game after another is incredibly consistent. He's been, a very good, consistent back for us, but he also's got special skills. He's blocking well. He's got excellent hands. So there's a lot of ways he's able to help us. He was also voted by the team as captain a year ago as a junior. So he brings that to the table as well. So I think in terms of, you always feel really, really proud of any of your individuals when they really kind of have accomplished something special with regards to a record. That's certainly what's going on with Hop. If the offense talks about it, they never talk about it when I'm there. And as a team, we never talk about it. I think when Hop broke the record last year, I congratulated him at the team meeting on Sunday, but we don't spend too much time on that because, frankly, we keep doing what we're doing. Hopefully, Hop's going to continue to score. I think pragmatically. In other words, he's not going to think about that. But I'd say if we get inside the 5-yard line, he'll think about that, which I think is fair. So we're not going to do anything to change the game plan to do that. But if we have an opportunity to give him a chance to score because we're near the goal line, well, we would do that. But frankly, we would be giving him the ball down there anyway. So it's not like we're doing a whole lot different. We're not doing anything different. But we would be sensitive to it. Would we give him an extra carry too? Yeah, we would do that. Every coach wants to play at home, right? So especially with the success baseball had, I hope the community's paying attention to this. Hope the community's involved. Hope they want to be more a part of this. I hope we get a good turnout. And we're excited about that. We always enjoy playing at home. So we're excited about that. But I think it's different. When we played South Carolina, it was the last game of the season. We're going to playoffs. We never should have been playing South Carolina that year. Okay, but we were. Frankly, we didn't care about it. Now, we went in there with the idea we're going to give it our best, but we lose one of our guys, we're not going to do well in the playoffs. So the South Carolina game for us was, in fact, if you remember, we talked about this. If things get out of hand early, I'm pulling the guys. Like, we had no starters in before the half was over. All our people were out. If it's the first game of the season, you'd go after it far more seriously than what would be the case. I think with regard to them, you got Florida A&M, you got Miami, they're Florida schools, but I think it's what I said a little while ago. They have good skilled people, and I think they're well coached. But the line, there was such a discrepancy between the two lines, offensive against the defense. The offensive defensive line of Miami versus the offensive defensive line of A&M, there was just no comparison there. So they so dominated the line of scrimmage, nobody could do anything else. I know our lines will do a good job against them, but I don't see us necessarily dominating the way the other guys dominate. But we'll see on Saturday. We know we have to contend with good schemes, good systems, good disguises on defense, good talent. But we've got to we've got to execute our game. It's the first game of the season, and if I'm their coach, I say, okay, this one's behind us. Let's go.
Any concerns as you look at them and break them down?
Yeah, I think they've got really good skill people. You know, this kid 15 that I told you about, the best receiver, he had a good year a year ago. He's going to have a good year this year. Again, he's returning punches, returning kicks. But their other receivers can catch the ball and they can run. The quarterback can throw and he can run with the ball. The running backs, I think they have two of them. Both of them can run with the ball. I mean, they've got good skill people. Their defense, they do a good job of disguising stuff. The secondary, the linebackers get to the ball. Their defensive line is more stout than mobile. But the skilled guys can move around pretty good. You know, we're not specifically concerned about one of them. We're concerned kind of about the group. But we just got to pay attention to do our job.
Oh, man, I'm thankful for those pilots. You know, we got to the airport, like Coach said, it was pouring rain. You know, we're all kind of standing out there like, you know, kind of what are we doing here, you know? But, you know, we trust Coach and everybody to get us there safe. But, you know, we took off, and that plane started rocking a little bit, you know, and everybody kind of started looking at each other like, what in the world's going on here? And then we actually dropped twice. And the first time we dropped, I was like, oh, okay, you know, it's a little fun, you know. Wasn't that scary. I was trying to be brave for everybody. But you know, the second time it dropped, you know, I was sitting on the plane next to Will Walker, and I looked down and said, hey, man, you know, this might be the end. You know, we might not make it to Beaumont, you know. But we got through that storm, and the rest of the flight was pretty easy, and so it wasn't too bad after that. Oh, you know, it was definitely fresh on our minds. But you know, I think it was a good way to connect the two. And it definitely did, you know, get us going. In the second half, obviously, we came out pretty strong offensively. Defensively, they had a pretty solid game all around.
I mean, with the reference into the turbulence for defense, we had some assignment breakdowns that we recognized. Just staying on our keys, keeping everyone up and about instead of hanging your head down. When he referenced the turbulence, we were just like, we got to go out and get it. And that's all we did. Not necessarily. I was mainly sleep. I was just only up. Yeah, I've been on like I was telling the gentleman here earlier, I've been on a 10-seated passenger plane where I was literally, my body was wider than the aisle of the plane, so I could see the pilots and everything they were doing, and I'm at the back of the plane, so it's like a little plane hanging by a string. I feel like a little puppy because I'm in the back. It's just fishtailing back and forth, and I got extremely queasy. I had got a headache. And I was just like, oh, this might be it for me, especially when we went through a big cloud, so it was engulfed in white. And I was just like, what's going on? I heard like a loud engine of a even bigger plane. I'm like, oh, my gosh, it's about to be terrible. I'm about to fall to the earth. And I was just scared out of my mind. I just went to sleep, and I woke up, I was on the ground.
I mean, anytime, you know, one of your teammates are kind of up for a record or getting ready to break a record, it's always a great thing to be a part of, you know. D'Angelo's obviously a great running back. He, you know, paving the way for him. He kind of makes it easy for you sometimes when he makes people miss and stuff like that. But, you know, it's just like Coach said earlier. We don't really talk about it. He doesn't really talk about it. I mean, we show up to practice every day. We're one unit. We're one offense. And but we're definitely going to do everything we can to not, you know, let him, you know, break that record, but also just do everything we can to get that win on Saturday. So, but it's definitely cool. It's going to be a cool experience when and if it happens. So.
How about your thoughts about facing Florida A&M and playing your home opener?
Oh, I mean, we're excited. We're ready to go. You know, especially after that crazy trip to Beaumont. It's kind of nice to be home. You know, taking a bus to a hotel instead of a plane. But you know, they're a good team. You know, they got good players. They're athletic, and you know, it's going to be a fun game. It's going to be a good game. You know, the crowd's going to be there. It's going to be exciting, the home opener, and it's definitely something we're looking forward to.
Same question.
Can you repeat the question, sir?
Playing your home opener, Florida A&M, and just your thoughts.
Oh, I'm mainly excited because this is my first season being a starter, especially in college. This will be my first home game, so you know, the lights will be on necessarily in my environment opposed to being on the road. I'm just excited to play another team. Well, during the preseason and throughout the summer leading up to it, we were aware that Cade, number 8 for Lamar University, he was a very good running back. He makes people miss. He can run extremely fast, certainly faster than I can. So the assignment breakdowns, primarily for like the defensive line and defense, came from when everyone tried to either do too much or didn't do their job well enough. So when the reference to the turbulence came, the thought in the back of the mind was just, got to go out and go get it. And so when the second half came, whenever someone was in the game, they stayed true to their assignments, went on their key, made the read they were supposed to read, and the end result was essentially the shutout that you described earlier.
Well, I think, last game we came out was obviously Josh Staley's first start, so, there was nerves there. And I think we just came out and tried to do too much, as an O-line. Sometimes when you got a freshman or inexperienced guys behind you, you kind of feel like you got to make the perfect block and you just kind of do too much instead of just doing your job, completing your assignment. And I just think when we get out there on Saturday, everybody's got to go out there and just relax and play ball. That's kind of the mentality this week, as we're getting prepared for Florida A&M. It's just, everybody go out there and play ball. This is football. It's a game. It's supposed to be fun. And, everybody's going to relax and then take care of their job, do their job right, and then hopefully come out, with a win on Saturday. I think the game plan is going to be pretty much what it was last week, keeping it simple for not just him but for all of us. The game, we can move a lot faster as an offense when the game plan is simpler. But no, I think it's going to be pretty much what we've been running. Oh yeah, when D'Angelo gets going, it's hard to keep him down. He's over there looking at Coach B, calling, wanting plays for him to run downhill and get rolling. So yeah, we'll definitely keep the run game going.